On this channel, we've explored plenty of movies that were never finished. But the one we're talking about today didn't just stay unfinished, just showing any of it could get you in legal trouble. And that's only the beginning. This movie took almost 10 years to make, drove the creator of The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy to madness, and somehow ended up becoming illegal. Today we're talking about Dead Meat. To get into the story of Dead Meat, we need to start with the mind behind it, Maxwell Atoms. He grew up hooked on cartoons and horror movies, and when he became an animator, he set out to mix both. His first big hit was Grim and Evil on Cartoon Network. But the real success came with its spin-off, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. The show became a favorite among kids and led to 2 specials, a bunch of merch, and even a video game. By 2012, Atoms wasn't just doing well. He was part of a group of animators who were changing the game with shows that were both daring and popular. He could have stayed on that path, but he wanted to try something bigger, wilder, and more original. He had an idea for an action comedy set in a broken world sometime in the future. While still working on other projects, Atoms used his free time to develop a new series he called Dead Meat. The story follows James Heckler, better known as Heck, a mutant hunter in a post-apocalyptic Los Angeles. He's teamed up with Dead Meat, a talking mutant dog who knows how to use weapons. The city's full of danger, rubble, and toxic waste. They're just trying to stay alive. But things take a turn when they meet Suzuki Jackson, a mutant who's just as dangerous as she is good-looking. From that moment on, a strange love triangle starts to grow, one that could destroy their friendship and whatever's left of the world. Atoms wanted Dead Meat to be nothing like his past work. He planned to push his love for violence and madness even further. The story would mix brutal scenes with dark humor and heavy satire, clearly meant for adults only. That idea already felt exciting, but he wanted to take it one step further, something weirder, more original. Even though animation was his thing, he decided the main characters would be puppets, kind of like the Muppets, set in a Mad Max world. To show the ruined city, he would use miniatures, like in old movies. And while he was dreaming big, he added one more idea. Along with the puppets, there would be real actors too. Only then did he realize he had no experience with puppets, miniatures, or live action. But he was sure he'd figure it out, or at least that's what he thought. After finishing the scripts, Atoms realized Dead Meat was too personal and too strange for any studio. If someone agreed to make it, they'd probably try to tone it down for kids. But he didn't want to give up control, and he didn't have the money to make it by himself either. The solution came through Kickstarter. At the time, it was the main platform for getting projects funded through public donations. In return, people got rewards like mugs, t-shirts, or early screening invites. For Dead Meat, Atoms launched a campaign as big as the project itself. His goal was to raise $50,000, a small amount for TV, but he thought it would be enough to finish the whole series. What he didn't know was how far off that number really was. But Atoms knew a long text wouldn't be enough to get people on board. So he shared concept art and posters that showed the kind of story and style he wanted. Since he was bold, loved his project, and didn't care what anyone thought, he also made a 5-minute short called Dead Meat, the Kickstarter pitch. In it, he plays a version of Heck, while still being himself. His dog, dressed as Dead Meat, joins him and makes jokes through a voiceover. Atoms breaks down the project and shows sketches of the main characters and their ruined world. The tone is relaxed and full of energy, with promises of action, horror, and over-the-top 80s-style humor, plus some sailor-level swearing. Atoms launched the Dead Meat campaign on October 17, 2013, and shared it everywhere, on Tumblr, YouTube, and any place he could. That helped catch the attention of the media and brought in fans who had followed him since The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. He felt good about his plan, but part of him still had doubts. He kept asking himself if it was really going to work. But this was his only shot to make Dead Meat the way he wanted without anyone getting in the way. Before he could start second-guessing everything, he checked the Kickstarter page and saw the first donations coming in, along with messages full of real excitement. Atoms had plenty of reasons to feel hopeful, but he knew he had to keep moving to bring in more backers. So he used the time to start casting. He needed people who really connected with the story and who were okay with getting paid very little. In less than a month, he put together a cast that was excited about the project and fed off his energy. On Kickstarter, he shared short videos where the actors talked about their characters. During casting, he noticed some were professional actors, and others were just regular people with day jobs. He liked that mix. He thought it could make things more interesting. But just like with the campaign budget, things were about to get complicated. But in the beginning, everything was going great. With the promo and casting in full swing, the 30 days of the Dead Meat campaign came to a close. On November 16th, Atoms saw that he had raised $56,817, just above his goal. The money came with dozens of messages full of support. Now he had no excuse. He could finally make Dead Meat. He even promised on Kickstarter that the series would be released somewhere online. That's when the dream started to fall apart. In early 2014, Atoms was fully focused on Dead Meat. He used part of the money to build the puppets, the miniatures, and other parts of the set. He shared updates on Kickstarter, and the backers were loving it. Some were so into the project that they suggested something new, turning the series into a movie. Atoms had been thinking the same thing. He had enough material to make something big, and he didn't want to waste it. So he changed the plan and decided Dead Meat would be a full-length film. He even promised it'd be done by 2015, but he soon realized that making his own project was nothing like working on shows like Billy and Mandy, where he had a full team and a TV network backing him. Pre-production started taking longer than he thought. He still had to work to make a living. He didn't have a family, but he did have friends and a few short relationships, and he tried not to lose touch with them. On top of that, the $56,000 wasn't going to be enough to finish the movie. The stress was building up, and he didn't want to touch his small savings. In February 2016, he wrote on social media, "In the triad of money, time, and quality, one must suffer," and he chose time. Over the next 2 years, Atoms kept tweaking the script, building puppets, and bringing the broken world of Dead Meat to life. To save money, he did everything on his own. He also filmed himself while working and posted the videos on Kickstarter. He wanted to keep the backers excited and make it clear he wasn't trying to scam anyone. But Dead Meat started to take over Atoms' life. He was spending all his time and energy on his mutant baby, and nothing else seemed to matter. It became an obsession. He turned down jobs, drifted away from friends, broke off his relationships, and spent his savings. Fans who were watching the project take shape could tell he was losing control, but no one tried to stop him. That brings us to November 2019, 6 years after the Kickstarter ended, and Dead Meat was still not even halfway done. After spending months building puppets and props, it was finally time to shoot scenes with real actors. One of them showed the main characters walking into a bar, ending in a mess of gunfire and blood. Atoms knew no real bar would let him film something like that, so he decided to build one. He didn't know how, and by that point, he didn't have anyone left to ask. Thinking about what it takes to make an indie movie, he chose to use his own house. Right away, he saw the space wasn't enough, not for a bar scene, and not for the lights. So, holding back a deep breath, he started knocking down walls. And that wasn't all. He had to make the place look filthy and full of graffiti to sell it as a rundown bar. With the set ready, it was time to work with the cast. The first day came with some nerves, but Atoms managed to give clear direction and make everyone feel comfortable. The actors were all in. No attitude, no drama. They really cared about Dead Meat. After 2 months of filming with actors, and with plenty still left to shoot, Atoms felt like he had finally become a filmmaker. A real indie filmmaker. I mean, he tore down his own house for the sake of a movie. But even with all his imagination, he didn't see the disaster that was coming. One night, while getting ready to shoot more scenes for Dead Meat, Atoms got a phone call. It was someone from SAG-AFTRA, the union that stands for Screen Actors Guild and American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. This group was formed when 2 major unions joined forces. They fight to protect the rights of actors, even if that means shutting everything down for months, so the studios have to listen. That's why, during a strike, movie and TV shoots stop, causing big losses across the industry. Back to the call, Atoms didn't remember ever talking to anyone from SAG-AFTRA, so he asked what they wanted. The rep told him they knew about the Dead Meat project, and pointed out that only some of the actors were in the union. Atoms admitted he hadn't thought about that when casting, and asked what the problem was. The rep explained that, under a new rule, union actors couldn't work with non-union actors, even on low-budget projects. Atoms asked how serious that was. The answer was simple. It's illegal. Atoms couldn't make sense of it. To him, the SAG-AFTRA rule didn't add up. He had gone with Kickstarter to avoid dealing with any kind of authority in the first place. Still, he was ready to fight for Dead Meat. He talked to lawyers to see what he could do. They all said he wasn't breaking any California law, but union rules were a different story. SAG-AFTRA was strict, and trying to go against them would be a waste of time, and could even hurt his career. To make things worse, the union had contracts that said if Atoms signed them, the movie couldn't be released without their approval. They warned him that if he tried to release the movie with the bar scene, he could get into legal trouble. Because of all this, Atoms got stuck in a pile of paperwork, legal problems, and Hollywood rules. He didn't want to hurt his own career, or the careers of his actors. So how could he get out of this mess? The easiest way was to cut those scenes and shoot them again with non-union actors. But that wasn't possible. He had already spent all the money, including the donations. And just thinking about redoing something he had worked so hard to create made him feel sick. On January 23, 2020, Atoms posted an update on Kickstarter called Dead Meat is Dead. He confirmed the project was canceled and explained everything that had happened. Some lines were tough to read, like, "I've used this project as an excuse to ruin my life." He also shared the full script, so fans could see what the movie was meant to be. In the end, he said he was sorry and promised to return the donations. The director thought he'd get hit with a wave of complaints from supporters, but to his surprise, everyone showed support, and no one wanted their money back. Some even used the moment to call out SAG-AFTRA and its rules for blocking creative projects. The support meant a lot to Atoms, but it wasn't enough to lift his mood. After 7 years of hard work and losing more than just money, Dead Meat was left unfinished. But the project wasn't over yet. After letting go of his long-awaited mutant monster, Atoms had to rebuild his life and career. He got back in touch with friends who gave him support when he needed it most. Some of them worked in the industry and helped him find freelance work at places like Warner. Not long after, he joined the team behind The Patrick Star Show, a SpongeBob spin-off. It wasn't his own thing, but it helped him feel like himself again and brought some stability back. Atoms also felt good knowing Dead Meat hadn't been forgotten. People kept talking about it on forums and social media. Fans brought back the photos and videos he had posted, and many still wondered how the finished movie might have looked. They also kept calling out SAG-AFTRA, and some are still hoping it'll stop being illegal to watch what he filmed. Atoms shares that hope too. Dead Meat was meant to be the big, crazy project of a fearless creator. Its cancellation shows how hard indie filmmaking can be, and what happens when the legal stuff gets ignored. Now the hunter and his mutant dog aren't tearing through a ruined city. They live in a different place, the strange but fascinating world of movies that were never finished.